8. We've got a quorum. What time is it now?
4:01.
We have to tell her to go
Okay, well,
on.
let's start the meeting. I'll call the meeting to order, okay? Let me get my screen up here. So I'm going to read the land acknowledgement, and excuse me for going sideways because I'm working with a computer, an iPad and an iPhone here to get everything coordinated. We respectfully acknowledge that the County of Haliburton is located on Treaty 20 Mississauga territory and in the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations, which are Curve Lake, Rama, Hiawatha, Alderville, Scugog Island, Beausoleil, and Georgina Island First Nations. We acknowledge a shared presence of Indigenous nations throughout the area and recognize the original Indigenous inhabitants as the stewards of its lands and waters since time immemorial. First item on the agenda is adoption of the agenda. Could I have a motion to move and second the agenda, please? Moved by Cease, seconded by, who's got a hand up? Is that Adele? Adele, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Is Patricia in the room? Where are you, Patricia? You're gonna help me with this, okay? You record who moved and seconded it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Any declarations of interest? Seeing none, we're going to move to the consent agenda, which is item 5, which is the draft Haliburton Library Board minutes meetings of October 8th, 2025, the circulation statistics by branch. Does anybody want anything from the previous minutes or the circulation stats to come forward? Otherwise, I have a motion that reads as follows. That be it resolved that the Haliburton County Library Board accepts the consent agenda for the November 12, 2025 regular meeting as presented. Have a mover, please. Moved by Jen, seconded by Lisa. Thank you very much. All in favor? Motion carried. Okay. Andrea, over to you for the item 6.1, the financial report for the last month.
Okay, I have just a couple things to mention for the financial report this time. We have been working with our IT department on replacing the photocopiers at the Minden and the Dysart branches. Those are the really big public copiers. Now, right now, remaining in that budget, there's $6,140. The IT has reached out to the organization that we currently have the contract with, and it's looking like to get both copiers, it may be slightly over $10,000. And in fact, if it's over $10,000, we may have to go through a procurement process. So we're just liaising with IT on that right now. So just flagging for you that we are working on that. We may be over budget in what we had estimated for the transfer from reserves, but we do have room in our other lines to absorb that cost. So
will you transfer more from reserves to meet the budget?
To Dave, just because we have wiggle room in the rest of our budget, so I don't think we'll need.
Perfect.
And the other thing is we will expect to have some legal fees in our contracted services line as well, so that will be added in there. We do have other lines though that we haven't used as much. So for example, the postage, we haven't used as much as normal. We've had the Canada Post labor disputes that have caused our interlibrary loans a few times this year. So we have wiggle room in other budget lines to absorb that.
Okay. You mentioned IT. Well, sorry, finish up and I have a question for you. There's nothing to do with what you're talking about.
Go ahead, Dave.
You mentioned print photocopiers and all that stuff. I would assume that's in the IT budget. Question is, how is the recruiting going for the new IT person?
We have the 2 postings right now, and we're starting the interviews at the end of this week.
Perfect. Thank you.
How about a number of applicants? Several?
Yeah, we've got applicants in both, yeah.
Good,
Both, yeah.
good.
Good, okay. Any questions on the statements? Seeing none, I have a motion to be it resolved that the Haliburton County Library Board accepts the financial report as presented. Mover and seconder, please, either from the room or the online. I'll have Walt will recommend. Walt moves it, seconded by Lisa. Thank you very much. All in favor? Thank you. Motion carried. Now, we're going to go to our updated 2026 budget of November 12th today.
Dave,
Go ahead,
can I
Andrea.
just, one just note business arising from the minutes. We have 3 board members who have not
Oh, did I
yet
miss something? Oh, sorry. I apologize for missing something.
It
Excuse me.
wasn't noted on here, but I just wanted to take the opportunity. There's 3 of you who have not completed the online
Yes.
survey. So I've sent reminders. Please, to those 3 of you who have not done it, we will present the results at the December meeting. So please go ahead and do the
Okay.
survey.
If you have not completed the survey, please do so because it's very important to get a sense of how the board feels about how the board governance is working. I'd appreciate that very much. Thank you. And if you don't have it, if you can't find it or you've misplaced it, let Andrea know and she'll send you a new copy, okay? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Andrea, would you move over to the draft 2026 budget?
Could I ask to speak to this first?
Of course, Adele, please go ahead.
So in October, the board directed our CEO to present a budget that we approved to county council. And that hasn't happened. So I'm wondering about the appropriateness of our CEO now revising the budget without direction from the board to do that. I think something has skipped ahead, and I would like to see our original budget presented as we had directed her to do.
Okay, can I comment on that, please, in lieu of Andrea making a comment? And Adele, please, when we're finished our discussion, if it's appropriate, please move a motion that you would like the original budget from October 8th to go to county council. That's quite legitimate. It was me that intervened in this process because Gary Dyke and I, the CAO of the county, and I had a conversation about the budget that the board originally moved on October 8th to submit to county council. And I admit up front, and I will take the mea culpa for it, I overstepped my authority and boundary as the chair in doing that, but I felt it was worth a try to salvage our budget, and so I did it. And Andrea joined me in a conversation with Gary and Andrea Robinson. Is that the right name, Andrea? The county budget lady or finance lady. And we had a good, thorough discussion. And Gary raised some very interesting points about our surplus and our potential surplus this year and our reserves. And so I took it upon myself and directed Andrea to take a look at the budget and see if we can figure out how we can use our reserves to help us spend less money, if you want to put it that way, going forward in the budget. So I take full responsibility for not submitting the budget as the board had directed Andrea to do. It's not her fault, it's mine. I intervened and thought we could perhaps resolve what could become a very significant budget issue with the county. And the budget before you today is the result of Andrea and I looking at the budget and looking at how we could maybe make it a little less or a little more amenable to county council. And that's the budget that's before you today. I accept that I should not have done that. I overstepped my boundary as chair, but in the sense that I wanted to try and resolve these issues. And don't forget, I come from a background of being the CAO and city manager of some very large cities in Canada, and I understand completely the pressures that the county is under with respect to their budget. I also understand the fiduciary responsibilities of you members of council on our board in relation to our board versus when you sit at city council and your fiduciary responsibility to the county taxpayers. So I accept responsibility for that, and it's me that made that happen, not Andrea. So please don't blame her. It's my fault if you want that happened. Adele, if you have any more comments, please make them. Otherwise, we'll deal with this motion to submit this budget or the one that we submitted, resubmit the one back on October 8th.
Well, I'd like us to proceed with what we directed the CEO to do. I don't know whether it needs a motion. The motion was already passed at the last meeting.
Okay, then I think in order of how we would make this work is that we'd have to defeat this motion that's before us right now, or this budget's before it right now, and we'll go back to the one that the board approved on October 8th, and we'll submit that one to county council. I think I don't know when your budget is coming up, county councilors, November, late November, probably, something like that.
November 26th is our
November
presentation.
26th. So that's the one, should this motion not go, that's the one we would submit, the one that was due on October 8th. It'll go forward, okay? Jen,
Just before we go through the motion process, I wonder if one of you could just outline not the line by line changes, but what is the essence of the changes that have been made, and
okay, two.
what is the impact?
I'll do that too.
Great.
One is we're not going to transfer the $6,000 that we normally transfer from our to our reserves this year based on our surplus. And second, instead of pulling a whole bunch of money out of operating or out of reserves for operating, we're going to put it towards the purchase of books. How much, Andrea? 72,000, is that number right? 72,000 will come from our reserves to buy books. Now, I want to make it very clear as the chairman of the board, and I'll say this and then I'll stop talking. I'll shut up and let everybody else talk. I am vehemently opposed to using reserves for operating. Vehemently opposed to it. However, I understand, having been in the world that you're all in, the politicians in this board, I lived my life in that world. I understand the pressures you're under with respect to budgets and tax increases. So I'll stop there and you guys go ahead, go for it. And those are the two main items, I think. Andrea, is that right?
Those are the key items. There's also, the Director of Corporate Services let us know, that there was a slight decrease to the benefits, line. There's a lower WSIB rate,
Oh, yes.
2026, so it's a difference of about $822, from the October 8th version of the
We
budget.
won't worry about that. That's a rounding error. Okay. Is that okay, Jen?
Yeah, it does clarify a bit. I wonder though, just speaking more broadly,
Mhm.
where does this put us operationally? Would there be any changes operationally? Were there any structuring changes that are now
No.
required? Like,
No.
I'm just trying to get a sense of what have these changes achieved for us?
There'll be no structural changes though, if you approve this budget as it sits right now versus the one we put in. Now, to be fair to the county, the budget that I should have allowed to go forward to the last count, sorry, excuse me, get my screen back up here. The budget that we approved on October 8th, which should have gone to county council, had that gone forward, I'm not going to predict what county council would have done, but there would have been some significant implications for the library board if the county council wanted to bring us down to a more reasonable number. Probably would have meant we would have had to sit here and make some very tough decisions. I think in this round of the budget we don't, but Adele is completely right in her comments. I thank you, Adele, for making those comments and for standing up and saying what you did, because you're absolutely right. I overstepped my authority as chair in dealing with the county CAO and the county finance commissioner or finance director, whatever her title is. But I wanted to give it the best shot I can. So, Jen, there's no implications for the structure and operating, the way the library operates now with this particular change, none at all. However, I have to remind you that we are using surplus, we're using reserve funds to pay for something we would normally do out of operating, but it doesn't affect the hours, the salaries, the people, the branches or anything like that. Cease?
Yeah, I hear what everybody is saying, and the bad news is that it's a tight year for everybody financially.
Yep.
And so consequently, we're going to be looking at where is the money coming from for a gambit of different things.
Yes.
The other thing that you should know as the board, today when we were at our county council meeting, Jennifer requested, and I certainly supported it, that we put a delegation through through Roma to the province to look at how they are funding the library board system. Now, is that going to produce anything? I have no idea. Are we even going to get a delegation? That's another question that doesn't have an answer. But at the end of the day, there's a sincere effort on the part of county council to recognize, one, that there is a challenge there, and it's not ours. It belongs to the province, who have chosen not to fund us. And secondly, there is an effort there to try to increase that opportunity. Having said that, I asked this question last year, and I'm going to ask it again this year. What are our current reserves? And if we were to draw from
320, give or take $1,000. Andrea, correct me if I'm wrong.
Uncommitted reserves at 363,500.
363.
It is, I recognize where you're also coming from, when you're talking about.
Just let me say, having said that number, that largely comes from gapping. When we lose an employee and we take 2 or 3 months to replace the employee, that drives a pretty significant contribution to the reserve, and it's been happening over many, many years, and that's why it's the size it is. It's not like we're giving you a budget and saying, oh my God, we inflated the budget because we knew we're going to have a surplus and we're going to throw it in the reserves. That doesn't happen. Okay.
No, but what I'm getting at is that there are members of county council who are looking at it from a pure fiscal point of view.
Oh yeah,
and they're saying, with $300,000 plus in reserve, what would be the expected use for it, considering most of the facilities are supplied by the actual individual municipalities. So with everybody coming to the table, looking at where we can contribute, the question is definitely going to come from council to the board as to where can you contribute, and can part of that reserve, although you're right in that it should be used for operations. Do we foresee anything in the near distant or even far distant that would require $300,000+? And I'm not sure we have an answer for that.
Probably not, but I think you don't have an, and I want to say clearly to the board that is exactly where Gary Dyke was coming from when we sat down with him. He was very clear. He said, you've got a lot of money in reserves, and there's going to be more money going in this year. Can you guys help us with our budget issues and use some of that money to help us do that? And you know what, to his credit, that's the right thing to do. He's doing his job, and I respect that, because I was on the other side of the fence many years ago doing his job, so I understand where he's coming from. And so that's why I did what I did. And as I said earlier on in the comments, I will take the hit for it. I'll do the mea culpa. I should not have done it without coming back to the board, but quite frankly, I didn't have time to get it done, and trying to get meeting schedules set up and all that stuff. So it's not going to affect the operations of the Jen, and answer your question, not going to affect the operations of the library at all. Down the road, if we keep drawing down reserves for operating, which this is a drawdown for operating, because normally we fund our books from our operating budget, not from a capital budget. If we continue to draw down funds from reserves for operating, in the end, it will hit us. I'll give you an example. Last year, the county said, you guys cut $115,000 of your budget. We did it. And how we did it largely is we got Andrea and her deputy CAO to work for 4 days a week and get paid for 4 days, not 5 days. So that took a big bunch of money. But if ever we get a new CEO in our county, Andrea, that doesn't mean I want you to leave. Don't get anything. Don't panic. Just relax. If ever that happens, the new CEO is going to say, I'm not working for 4 days and getting paid for 4. I want a full-time job. Then it's going to hit us. Then we're going to have to pay up, and that's going to affect our operating budget. That's just one example. Okay. Any other questions? See none. Okay. I have a motion somewhere. Let me go to my other machine here.
So a
You-
question.
Oh,
Question.
sorry, Adele, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand up. I apologize. My little screen is hard to see everybody in the room. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm finding this entire discussion a little premature in that we're discussing something that county council has not sent back to us for
Yes.
revision. And I think, as you mentioned, by having a conversation with the CEO or CAO of the county and then working from that, I think we've missed the opportunity to hear from county council as they're sitting at county council. And I'm also hearing now that we're predicting what they might say. So I'm a little troubled
I'm
by
not sure
that.
we're doing that, Adele. I'm not sure we're predicting what they will say. I'm going on a discussion Andrea and I had with the CAO of the county.
Mhm.
And on that basis, I decided that I would take a look at the budget that we approved on October 8th and see if there's some way I can make it a little more amenable.
Mhm.
We have not had the input of county council on our October 8 budget that we approved, and I'm perfectly willing to send that back to county council if this board wants to, and let them opine on it and send back a response to us in whatever the way they choose, and we have to accept it. I mean, we asked the county council for funding, and they decide whether or not they're going to give us what we asked for. And if they give us less, then it's up to us to deal with it. And how we deal with it is entirely up to us. County council has no say on how we spend the money that they allocate to us. That's the way the system works.
Mhm.
Jen?
I wonder if Andrea could give us, Andrea, would you give us your thinking on this? Is this a budget that you would support, recommend? Where are you sitting right now?
Well, I think, I agree in principle with David that we shouldn't be, using reserve funds for things that we normally cover for operations. However, I also recognize that in particular, the demands on social services and police budgets, and it's a very, very difficult challenge for the county and each municipality to fund all the things they need to fund. And as noted, the province is not, increasing their funding, so it's more and more falling to county council and, our municipal tax levies to increase. So it's a lot of pressure on county council. It can't continue, we'll run out of reserves eventually. We don't plan ever to have reserves like this. It's been, because we haven't been able to post and fill jobs quickly. We do have more money in our reserves than we require. We're not working towards building a new branch. So we have plenty for emergencies. So in this case, I would support $72,000 coming from reserves for the book budget and $18,000 for our IT costs. And the $18,000 for the IT costs, every year we contribute $6,000 to reserve so that we can fund those IT purchases. Some years we have a lot of computers to replace. And this year we have photocopiers to replace, which are a larger expense. So that changes over time. So certainly.
And we're not doing that this year in this iteration of the budget, right?
But normally we fund from reserves that $6,000 and then we take it out when we need it. So in this year it's 18,000. I think it's understandable with the pressures as a one-off to use $72,000 to fund books, just with special recognition of the crunch that the county's in.
Jen, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Andrea, for that. So as you've pointed out, it very much presents as a one-off. There's no way this could be the way forward. So is there some understanding or idea about something that has to happen between now and this time next year when we're presenting the next budget? Like what is there any thinking on what has to happen so that next year we're not asked to do the same thing?
Well,
Can I
think
answer that question?
Oh, sorry, was that?
Jan, go ahead, Andrea. I'd like to answer that question as well, because I have an opinion on this. Go ahead.
I mean, if we need to reduce the size of the library budget, that's something that we need to do with the library board is, make a strategy around doing that. We have, in my time in the CEO role, have made a very significant reduction to our administrative team. And going forward, if we are to reduce the budget further, there will be impacts that the public will notice. So, I mean, we can fund the $72,000 this year for books, and that's a reduction, but I can't predict the future. It's an election year as well, so I can't really speak to.
That should have nothing to do with it, by the way.
Dave, you had wanted to say something?
Yeah, so Jen, I think that's a really good question, and I'm going to answer it this way. I'm going to ask a question to Andrea. How long has it been since the provincial contribution to libraries has stayed the way it is now?
Decades, like I think the 90s, maybe.
Like more than 10 years?
Oh yes, yeah.
Okay, now let me defer after asking that question to the point that Cecil made earlier on in the meeting, which is excellent, and that is that the county is going to have a discussion with the province about library funding. The fact that the provincial government has not increased our allocation to libraries province-wide is disgraceful, and I say that in a positive way, or in a perhaps a critical way, because we operate under a piece of legislation called the Public Libraries Act. We are created, and our mandate is given to us by the provincial government. Just like there's a building code act, your chief building officer in all the municipalities operates under that act. Not what council tells them to do, but what the act says they have to do. Police is the same way. I remember being in a City of Ottawa council meeting once, and one of our councillors put up their hand and said, "We're not going to fund you the budget that you came to us for, police. You go cut it." And the police chief said, that's not your job. Your job is to either give me the money I asked for or don't give it to me, and it's up to me to cut it. So I think it's disgraceful that the province puts us under a piece of legislation that we have no authority over whatsoever to either change it or amend it or ask anything like that, and yet we're stuck with it. I think they should have increased out the library budgets or the library allocation transfers by at least inflation on an annual basis for however long since this act is in place, and they haven't done anything. And if they had done that, that may have helped us overcome the kind of situation we're in today. I'll stop there. That's my comment. Lisa, go ahead.
I would agree that you shouldn't have done that. I think that should have been up to Andrea, and this board did make a decision and gave a direction and passed the motion, and then it was supposed to come to county council and it didn't, and now us as members of council know why. That being said, I do, however, think that the second run at it that you're wanting to approve today to go to county council is probably more palpable to council.
Yeah.
But then we go back to the comments around the room about it's not something that's sustainable in upcoming years. But anyway, that's my 2 cents worth. I don't think it should have been done that way, Dave. That's my personal opinion. But here we are today, and like I said, I think the second version is probably more palpable for county, but I'll leave it up to everybody else to have their input and make that decision.
Thank you, Lisa. And I do sincerely apologize for what I did. I should not have done it, but I tried my damnedest to make this work, and we'll see what happens today at the meeting, how the motions go. Cease?
Yeah, just if I'm hearing correctly if I hear what we said today, what we could get is I don't think there's been an increase from the province since 1996. And if that is correct, then that's 30 years this year coming. And so something needs to be done there, and that's why we were kind of sort of discussing it, and I think Jennifer's point of trying to sit down and try to make an adjustment there is the right way to go. Whether it accomplishes anything, I don't know, but at least we tried. We've been there, we've done that. And then it's another thing that we can go back as county council and say, hey, we went there, we tried it, and we're not getting any money. So now if we do run through this again next year, then we're going to have to decide, how do we do it? How do we make things happen? And I think that I agree, should have come before the board first.
Yeah.
But having said that, it may have saved an iteration, that's all.
Thank you, Cease. Any other comments?
Yes, David,
Paul,
Can you-
go ahead.
I've had my hand up for a while. I had.
Sorry, it's hard. I've got 3 screens going here. It's hard to coordinate them all. Go ahead.
Comment. I tend to agree with the notion of using, well, not using the reserves, but that it's a more amenable budget proposal. However, Adele's comment about the process, my concern is that next year it's going to be the same thing, and so suddenly it just becomes the routine. So having said that, there was also a press release last week by the province about some grants, and I don't know how many millions of dollars that the province is giving to municipalities to assist with a number of municipal operations and activities, including libraries. They specifically said that in the press release, and I'd suggest perhaps the municipal roster there might look into what that release said and hold them to the fire on that one. Those are my comments.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul. I hadn't heard that report. Okay, any other comments?
Well,
Okay.
I just have a question. So if the previous budget was approved,
Yeah,
then procedurally, do we not have to rescind that somehow and vote on this new proposed budget? I'm just asking as a matter of procedure.
so I think you're right, Adele. I think we have a motion that's already been approved by the board and should have gone to county council. I was in error in not taking that. Well, I shouldn't say it. I knew what I was doing. I walked into, there's an old saying, you can ask for permission or forgiveness. I'm asking for forgiveness, not permission. I should have asked for permission rather than forgiveness. So there is a motion on the books that has been duly approved, and I stopped it from being sent to county council, and I take the blame for that, as I said. I would suspect it's probably, this motion before us right now is redundant because we'd have to rescind the one we sent last time and then entertain this particular motion to go this time. So it's up to the board what they want to do with this particular situation right now. And Adele, if you want to move a motion that says something to the effect that the original October 8th motion go to city council, budget go to county council, please do so. But
Well,
I don't think you have to do that because it's already on the books.
That's right. I don't think there's, yes.
Okay. So we will, if that's the case, and I don't hear anybody saying don't do that, the motion of October 8th will go to county council for budget purposes. And this motion will come off the table today. And the only reason this motion is here today is because I asked Andrea to put it on the agenda so we could have this very discussion. And again, this is not Andrea doing this. This is me doing it. I did it to try and figure out how we could make this work without causing county council a whole bunch of difficulty and issues. I thought I could figure this thing out and get it through, and I was wrong. I shouldn't have done that, and I admit that. So it's up to you, the board. I'm going to stop talking now. You know where I sit on this thing, and I'll stop talking and let you decide what you want to do. Okay, I hear nobody speaking, so the motion that's on the table now is gone. We will submit the October 8th budget to county council. Andrea, I'll give you that direction as the chair of the board based on no comment from the board. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the municipal roundtable. Anything that members of county council want to add to our discussion today? Lisa, or sorry, Jen, go ahead.
Dorset Branch looks great. I was in it today and it's
Hey, I was going to ask you that. Is everything repaired and good
Yeah.
good as new? Fantastic. Congratulations. And thank you for the Algonquin Highlands staff who went to work on that so quickly. That's really cool. Very well done. Okay, the next motion is any updates from the county other than Jen's comments? Okay, seeing none. The next meeting is going to be December 10th at 4:00 p.m. in person or via Zoom. And I'll zoom in as I did today, and I apologize profusely for my mixed up session here. I'll try and figure it out before then so I can be a little more efficient than I've been today. Thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned. Oh, sorry, I need a motion to adjourn. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Lisa, your hands up first. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much. See you in December for our meeting. It'll be 15 days before Christmas, so we'll have a little Christmas. Everybody drink a cocktail.